Hey guys, how are you? Hope you're doing well. I hope everything's going well for you. I just got this very interesting look at things, and I hope you guys follow me here because this is quite interesting. Starting to wonder whether there is actually racism in America, or is this just something we've made up in our heads? Excuse me. And the reason why I say this is because look at this. Listen to me, guys. Google. These are big tech companies. These companies are so big. They got more money. One company has almost, I think they might even have has almost the same amount of money as the whole continent of Africa. One company. If you add like the top, like these companies I'm going to mention together, they have more money than the whole economy of Europe. It's crazy. It's insane how rich these companies are and how big they are. Google, Microsoft, Micron, Visa, mastercard, UPS. I can keep going and going and going. What these companies have in common, do you know what they have in common? The CEOs are dark and brown skinned Indians. Oh, I thought America was racist. How come these companies founded by white people are now being run by Indians? How is that possible? Who look dark skinned, some brown skinned, but I bet you what, if you put Satya Nadella, who's the CEO of Google, if you put his arm next to the game like this, the game actually will even be lighter skinned than Nadella. If it's my man from Google, is even darker skinned, than most African Americans. So I'm asking myself this question, like, what the heck is going on here? What am I missing? What have we missed? Then I'm listening to Jeff Bezos doing an interview, and he's talking about how he wanted to be like, an astrophysicist or something like that. And he was saying, he's going to be this big guy and, well known and this, astrophysicist. And then he met this Pakistani guy who was just like, they'll give him a math thing, and he just, like Jeff Bezos and his mate will be there struggling. And they'll take this equation to him, and the guy will just look at it and write it down and give them the answer. And then since then, Jeff Bezos realized that, this guy is better than me, so I'm not even going to try to be an astrophysicist. Then there's another guy who was a Jewish white guy, Guy Spear. Guy Spear, I've heard on so many occasions, praise his friend Monish Pabrai just about how smart this man is. It's Indian Monish Pabrai. So, and I asked me, are these guys just smart? Maybe that's why they've been taking these jobs. Then America is not really, it's a meritocracy kind of place. It's not because of racism. It's a meritocracy place because these guys are dark skinned and they are now the CEOs of these big companies. And when you look at their stories, a white guy was running Microsoft after Bill Gates left. It never did very well. It was almost like stagnant. It wasn't as profitable. This guy has been running it for the last 10 years or more, and the company stock has just gone through the roof. Is running extremely well. That's why now it's the biggest company in the world, worth over $3 trillion. One company, Microsoft. Satya Nadella, Indian. So they are giving credit. Is a good CEO and smart. Okay. Now that doesn't mean there are no African American CEOs. I think the CEO of Lowe's is African American. The CEO of another company called SAIC, SAIC. That's their ticker symbol. I think Scientific something. She's also like black, right? And I'm sure there's a few other people there could be 3, 4, 5 or something like that who are African Americans, but that's not enough. And some of these companies they're smaller, but these guys are running these, if white people were to brag about something, they'll brag about the iPhone, they'll brag about Microsoft. But now these companies are being run by Indians. Then I asked myself, what's going on again? How come the Chinese ain't running most of these companies? Yeah? Ain't the Chinese smarter? And the Chinese have been in America a lot longer than the Indians. I don't think America had a lot to do with the Indians. I think Britain had a lot more to do with the Indians. Indians just started getting there recently, I think from the 70s onwards. But how come the Chinese are not running these big companies? Yes, there are some companies which they run, but majority of these companies, they are like the founders, like in NVIDIA, like AMD, like super micro computers. So there's some of these companies, but they're not running. They didn't give them a Microsoft. And I'm starting to think, then that made me now question stuff. Is it about intelligence or is there something else going on there? And then I realized there's a few things going on here. One of them is the relationship between America and China. The last thing you want is to have Chinese CEOs running every company in America, which they can do, because apparently these guys are very, very smart. So then you find a way not to allow them. And I think that's the main reason why that happened. Then it's like, where are the black people then? Then why is it not them participating in these things? And then I realized, I think our own history has put us in a bad place, especially for African Americans. But this is just across the board. Our history has put us in a bad place. If a black man is running a company, usually people ain't looking at it, even though you are good at it. Like the guy who runs Lowe's, which is the biggest one is Home Depot. But Lowe's, this guy took over, has been taking market share from Home Depot, and they've actually shown they might even be more profitable than Home Depot. So it doesn't mean black people can run these companies. They can. But I think what's holding us back, what prevents us from being put into this place, it's not just about intelligence, but also about history. Because if it was just about intelligence, then the Chinese could have been running most of these companies. But there's also about the history of it. Then I want you to watch this video.
Never had anything to do with any until we came here. I mean, they never lived, well, what you'd say, close enough to us, or we just never were around them, really.
Isn't that part of what makes it difficult when you live 16 or 17 years of your life and then start doing something different all of a sudden?
Well, I think, like if a Spanish or a Chinese person came here, it wouldn't be hard to get along with them. It's just that the Negroes are what you might say more different to us than a Spanish person might be.
So as you saw there, this is just a random girl. She's not a politician. I think that was back in the 50s or so, 60s. Random woman. She said something that was important there, where she said, oh, if it's the Chinese and the Mexicans, who have no problem connecting with them, but the Negroes just look so different. That's not someone like politically inclination there, or she said this, or because that was just a kid from the street, and she said that. To me, that carries a lot more weight about how things people thought then, and I think that carries on up to today. There's some people who are easily accepted into American society, whereas for black people, it's still a struggle. Then the second part, so that's one part. Our history, their history there is not helping them. Then the second part, I think, is exposure. I always wonder why there'll be one place in America where it's probably like 70% population there is black. But then you go to the police force, you realize 99% of them are white. So I'm like, I never understood that. But then I realized that until I found out that most black people don't want to be police officers. And if you are some kind of a racist and you think black people don't want to work, confirmation bias is going to kick into that. Oh, they don't want to work. They're just lazy. They just want to, blah, 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 you know, the usual stuff. But no. But now if you are like me, or seeing black people do amazing things, we'll go like, how come they don't want to do it? And then you start digging deeper into it. And then what you realize, what you find, is that they don't want to do it because they don't want to work. They don't want to do it because of the history connected to black people with the police. Remember black people trying to go to university in America? Who was whooping them? Who was hosing them with water? Sending dogs to attack them? Who was doing that? In a lot of cases, the KKK were the police. So you see these things affect you. And remember, DNA carries message. So most people don't do with the police. And also I realized, I watched this something on Netflix, what I think was The Pharmacist. This guy about drugs in America and all that stuff. And there's a part that almost made me cry. It's about this little boy who grew up in this neighborhood. This guy lives in America, man, in the USA. One of the wealthiest country on the planet. And this kid is never left his neighborhood. He only knows that block and that block. And the place is horrible. It's a bad place to live in. I think he ended up shooting some kid. And that's when he left this place. And the only time he left was when he was going to prison. That is sad. So how do you expect someone with that experience to be a CEO? They've never been exposed to anything. You know, so there has to be some kind of exposure happening to our people, not just in America, even in Africa. People haven't been exposed. Exposure to things is very, very important. This is more of a discussion video, guys. These are just my observation, but I would like you to tell me what you think in the comments below. Why is it that dark-skinned Indians are running American corporations today? You know something I also found out? 70% of all the option market on the stock market is coming from India. In the American stock market, from India. So these guys, even when they're in India, they're getting rich by doing options. Black Americans aren't doing it. Most people don't even know what the stock market is. And they live in the richest, greatest country on earth right now. Should the approach change? Should we do something different? But I want you to tell me, why is it that dark-skinned Indians are running multinationals, big tech companies in America today? A white guy just got fired from a company called Snowflake. The guy who's taking his job is called Ramaswamy. Something is going on there, you know, and we need to find out now for African Americans. Thanks, guys. I hope we can have this discussion, and I can't wait to see your comments below. Thank you. Goodbye.